What you thought was just another ordinary school year. What felt like harmless glances from a quiet stranger. What started as silence soon turned into something much darker. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, you're about to enter a psychological maze of obsession, deceit, and fear. This video unravels 3 chilling encounters where trust is shattered, safety becomes an illusion, and those closest to us may be hiding the most terrifying secrets. From unnerving classroom confessions to disturbing stalker behavior that escalates beyond comprehension, these stories aren't just creepy. They crawl under your skin and stay there. If you enjoy spine-tingling tales that leave your heart racing and your lights on at night, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like this video if you dare. Share your own unsettling experiences in the comments, or email them to nightterror@xinbox@gmail.com. Your story might just be featured next. Now, lock your doors, dim the lights, and listen closely. Because sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones that watch in silence. The Boy Who Watched Me. So I was talking to my cousin Leah one night, and she brought up something I hadn't thought about in years. She said, "Hey, remember that weird kid you used to sit next to in 8th grade? The one who gave you that creepy gift?" And suddenly, it all came flooding back like a wave of cold water. Back in 8th grade, there was this kid named Mason who sat next to me in history class. He wasn't exactly the quiet type, more like vacant. Like his mind was permanently somewhere else. He didn't talk much, never laughed, never even looked anyone in the eyes. Most people avoided him, not because he was mean or anything, but because there was just something off. On Halloween, he showed up with his fingernails painted jet black. No costume, no explanation. I remember leaning over and saying, "Hey, are those for Halloween? That's actually kinda cool." His reaction was instant. His face brightened like I just told him he won the lottery, though his words came out slow and awkward. Still, I could tell he appreciated it. After that, we'd exchange short greetings each morning in class. Sometimes, I'd catch him watching me, not in a flirty way, more like a cat watching a mouse, but I chalked it up to his quirks. I figured maybe he had a harmless crush. A few weeks passed and he sent me a friend request online. I accepted, figuring it was just another classmate. At first, our chats were normal, school stuff, teachers we didn't like, random memes. But then things shifted. Our conversations grew deeper. Mason started opening up in ways he couldn't in person. He wrote these strange but beautiful poems, long paragraphs about how he felt like a ghost drifting through life. I started to feel bad for him, like he just needed a friend. Eventually, he asked for my number. I hesitated, but gave it to him anyway, thinking it couldn't hurt. For a while, it was okay. He'd send me these handwritten stories. He'd actually take pictures of pages he wrote in pen, and they were surprisingly good. I always replied kindly, telling him how creative he was. But then, something shifted. He began texting constantly. If I didn't answer within minutes, he'd send 3, then 5, then 10 messages. "Are you okay? Where are you? Why aren't you answering?" He started sounding frantic, and no matter how many times I told him I was just busy, he didn't let up. It got overwhelming. I told a friend about it, and she said she always got weird vibes from him. Said there was something unsettling in how he looked at people. I still wasn't taking it seriously, until one night. I had gotten home late from school, and replied to a message from Mason before taking a nap. When I woke up, I didn't check my phone right away. I went to the bathroom first. But when I did look, there were 77 unread messages, and they weren't asking if I was okay. They were conversations with himself, like he was arguing in real time, or maybe narrating thoughts that shouldn't have been sent. One message said, "She likes the stories, keep writing." Then another said, "She's pulling away, you're messing it up." And another, "Don't scare her, not yet." My hands were shaking. I replied, asking if he was okay. He answered immediately, "I'm great." I couldn't respond. I turned my phone off, walked to the living room, and tried to distract myself with TV. Hours passed. I hoped it was over. But when I finally turned my phone back on, dozens more messages, some just random letters, others full paragraphs, some were just my name, over and over. I stopped replying entirely. The next day in class, Mason was already in his seat, staring at the door like he'd been waiting for me. When our eyes met, I felt like I'd been hit with cold air. His stare didn't just feel creepy, it felt wrong, hungry. I forced a smile and told him my parents had taken away my phone, said they were cutting back on screen time so I couldn't text or use Facebook anymore. He nodded, but didn't say anything, just kept staring. The week after that, we had a school trip. It was supposed to be fun, an outdoor science center with a big group of friends. But Mason was there too, and the whole time, he was never far from me. Every time I laughed or talked, I felt his eyes on the back of my neck. At one point, he came over and said he had a gift for me. I tried to decline, but he insisted. My friend opened it for me. It was a small box with a cheap-looking ring inside. My middle name was etched onto it. I never told him my middle name. I froze. My friend gave me this look, like what the hell? But I just smiled weakly and mumbled a thank you. After that, it got worse. He messaged me again and again when we got home. I didn't answer. I couldn't. It had crossed into something else, something dangerous. That night, just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard something outside my window. Leaves crunching, slow footsteps. I sat up, heart hammering, and stared into the darkness beyond the glass. I didn't see anyone, but I knew someone was there. I ran to the hallway and flicked on the light. My dad came out, asking what was wrong. I told him. He checked outside. No one. But I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day at school, Mason acted like nothing happened. But the way he stared at me had changed. It wasn't sad or hopeful anymore. It was possessive, calculating, like I wasn't a person anymore. I was something he'd already decided belonged to him. Thankfully, the school year was almost over. And because of a zoning difference, he wouldn't be going to the same high school as me. That was the only thing keeping me sane. I told him my parents had removed texting from my phone plan and deleted my Facebook account. I blocked him. I stopped answering anything. He still stared, still watched. But eventually, summer came. And with it, a silence I hadn't felt in months. I never saw Mason again. To this day, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he found new friends or new targets. I just know that for a brief moment in 8th grade, I was the focus of someone who didn't see me as human. I still check the shadows by my window sometimes, just in case. The coach who came back too late. A friend of mine, Jake, told me this after we went camping last fall. He waited until the fire had burned down low and said, "There's something I've never told anyone, not even my parents, But if I don't say it now, I don't think I ever will. He was 18 then, fresh out of high school. The story he told me started back in the summer of 2019, right before his junior year. His school ran open gym sessions early in the morning, unofficial practices for athletes trying to stay sharp over the break. Jake had always been into sports, but basketball was where he felt the most alive, even if the team was notoriously terrible. They hadn't won a single game in nearly 3 years, mostly because they kept swapping coaches like worn-out sneakers. No one stayed long enough to actually make a difference. But that year, something changed. The school brought in a new coach, an old man, not just middle-aged old, like nearly 80. Balding, with liver spots on his hands, and a polite southern drawl that made him sound like he stepped straight out of a time machine. Jake never caught his real name, so he just started calling him Mr. Everett. He wasn't hired through the usual channels either. He claimed he used to coach decades ago and just wanted to help bring back some pride to the game. Most people thought it was sweet. A retired coach wanting to give back. But the way Mr. Everett moved, something about it felt off. Like he was rehearsing being human, always smiling, always watching, never blinking quite enough. Jake didn't think much of it at first. Mr. Everett was friendly, polite. He even gave Jake a cupcake before his tonsil surgery, saying it was a sweet treat for a strong player. When Jake returned to school, Mr. Everett handed him a handwritten letter welcoming him back and saying he'd even stopped by the hospital, only to find Jake had already gone home. Creepy, a little, but Jake brushed it off. It felt like a grandfatherly gesture. And after years of garbage coaches, Mr. Everett actually seemed to care. Practices became more intense, more focused. The team started winning. Everyone praised Mr. Everett for turning things around. He gave speeches, brought snacks, even told the team he hadn't felt this alive in decades. At the Christmas party, he said they were like the daughters he never had. Then came volleyball season. It wasn't school-sponsored, so Mr. Everett had no reason to be there. But he came anyway. He started showing up at tournaments. He'd linger after matches, giving Jake long hugs and whispering things like, "Keep that fire in your eyes, boy. That's what makes you special." Everyone assumed he was just a loyal fan, but Jake started feeling watched. Things really spiraled when the pandemic hit and school shut down. That's when Mr. Everett asked for Jake's number. He said it was just to send workout plans. No big deal. But after a few weeks, the texts became more personal, then possessive. He started driving to Jake's house, 45 minutes away, just to drop off drills and check in. Jake told him visits were only okay if his parents were home. But Mr. Everett always found reasons to stop by when they weren't. He'd sit for hours talking about the old days, about how hard it was to find people who really understood him. Sometimes he'd cry. Other times he'd stare at Jake like he was something rare, something owned. Jake tried pulling away, stopped answering texts, dodged the unannounced visits. That's when the messages turned dark. "You don't appreciate what I've given up for you," one read. "Don't shut me out. Not after everything." Then came the letter. 2 days before Jake's 17th birthday, Mr. Everett showed up at practice with a small gift box and a thick envelope. Inside the box was a silver necklace. Inside the envelope was a 3-page letter. Jake didn't want to read it, but Mr. Everett stood there silently demanding it. Jake skimmed. His stomach turned. The letter talked about fate. about connections forged in fire. Mr. Everett wrote that Jake had reignited something long dead in him, that he had dreams where they'd run away together, that no one else got it like Jake did. At the end, he'd drawn a heart with a jagged key inside it, writing, "You hold the only key that fits." The worst part? He was married, had a whole family. But none of that mattered to him, not anymore. That night Jake broke. He showed the letter to his parents, told them everything, the visits, the calls, the necklace, the weird lingering hugs. At first, they didn't believe it. Mr. Everett had been so charming, so harmless. But after they read the letter, something in them changed. They called the school, called the league. Within a week, Mr. Everett was removed, fired, his coaching license revoked. The team never saw him again. Jake told me he still has the letter, tucked away in a locked box. Not because he wants to remember Mr. Everett, but because he needs the reminder. That danger doesn't always come with snarls and shadows. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it bakes cupcakes. So yeah, that's what Jake told me that night in the woods, when the flames were low and the only sound was the wind moving through the trees. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "If someone ever makes you feel like you owe them love, even when your gut says no, run." Would you have seen the warning signs sooner? Or would you, like Jake, have mistaken obsession for kindness? He was always watching, so I was talking to my uncle one night and he said something I'll never forget. It's the quiet ones you have to watch the most. Back then, I thought he was being dramatic, but now I get it, and I wish I had listened sooner. This happened during my senior year of high school, one of those years you're supposed to remember for prom, graduation, and friends, right? Well, I remember it for something else. I used to eat lunch alone in my math classroom. The cafeteria was just too loud, too chaotic. My teacher didn't mind as long as I kept to myself. That's where I met him, Dylan. Quiet guy, sat in the back during class, never raised his hand, never got into trouble. We started talking during one of those lunch breaks. Nothing intense, just small talk, parents, music, even old cartoons. He seemed normal, actually, kind of sweet. At some point it became a routine, a few words here and there. I didn't think anything of it. I'm not good at spotting when someone's into me, and I didn't pick up on the signs. Looking back, they were everywhere. One day, he came back from lunch with this red and blue popsicle, walked right up, placed it on my desk and said, "Figured you never eat. Thought I'd change that." I smiled and said thanks. It was a kind gesture, or so I thought. But after that, he went quiet again. No more small talk, no more casual glances, just this weird silence. Except, he never stopped watching me. I'd catch him staring during class, in the hallway, while I talked to my friend Kira. He had this heavy kind of gaze, the kind that sticks to your skin and makes you want to shrink. Kira noticed too. She'd glare at him and shake her head, giving off that protective vibe only best friends have. She didn't like him, and he hated her for it. He once asked me, "Why does your friend act like I'm dangerous?" I remember laughing nervously, like maybe he was joking, but he wasn't. His eyes didn't laugh. Then it got worse. I stayed in for lunch one day, like always, and Dylan was there. I was playing a game on my phone, just zoning out, when I noticed something. He was going through other students' backpacks. I froze. He was calm, like he was supposed to be there. Then he noticed me watching. He smiled and said, "My buddy left his headphones in here. just grabbing them. It was too smooth, too prepared. The next day, I got called to the front office. The principal asked if I saw anything strange the day before. I told the truth, every detail. Turns out Dylan had stolen $200 from someone. He had to pay it back with interest. And that was the last day he ever spoke to me. But that doesn't mean he was gone. Second semester, Kira ended up in my math class. I was relieved. But Dylan? He started doing something creepier. He talked to people I used to be friends with, even the ones who'd bullied me. Slowly, he became friendly with everyone I knew. He started learning things I never told him, my favorite drink, what fast food I ordered, what bus I rode, what games I played on my phone, even my phone number. I didn't give it to him. I don't know how he got all that information. But he did. He had this quiet obsession, and it grew under the radar while everyone saw him as this harmless, shy guy, the kind of guy teachers trust, the kind classmates ignore. But I noticed graduation came and went. I haven't seen him since, but sometimes I still feel that familiar stare. You know that feeling you get when someone's watching you, even when no one's there? Yeah, that. I get it all the time now, and sometimes I wonder, how much more does he know? How close did he actually get? And how far would he have gone if I hadn't looked up in time?